Welcome to the SVUSD Virtual Academy webinar. My name is Glenn Giocaris, and I'm the principal of the SVUSD Virtual Academy. In previous webinars, we have had a few hundred attendees, and I was able to field people's questions. And I apologize, but I'm not going to be able to do this during this webinar because of the number of attendees, which is wonderful. So if you would, please still enter your questions in the Q&A. I'll do my best to respond in an email with the question and answers to everyone who's attended. But I just want to show you, this is what we plan on sharing today. So hopefully we'll be able to address all of your questions. So again, my name is Glenn Giocaris. I've been the principal of the Virtual Academy for the last 3 years. I have been in the Saddleback District as an assistant principal at Trabuco Hills High School. And joining me as well is Mrs. Carla Nellis, one of our teachers, and Ms. Kathleen Schaefer, one of our teachers, and Mrs. Yvonne Essling, the Director of Elementary Education. And before we get started, Carla, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and giving everybody a little bit of information about your background.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm Carla Nellis. I taught at the Virtual Academy. I've taught at the Virtual Academy for 3 years now. Before that, I taught in both Washington State and California. This fall will start my 20th year of teaching. I have experience in both the brick and mortar classroom and also taught virtually for 8 years. I have taught general ed, GATE, and English learners. I have a bachelor's in communications and a master's in ed tech. And I just feel so fortunate to be in Saddleback.
Great. Thank you so much, Carla. And Kathleen, would you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Kathleen Schaefer, and I've been in education for 31 years, 26 of those years in Saddleback. I have taught primary upper grades, secondary science, GATE students. I've spent the last 5 years as an educational technology TOSA, which is a teacher on special assignment. And that is where I trained teachers in the district in blended learning and online learning and intentional lesson design.
Great. Thank you so much. So to start, I just like to make sure that we're clear about what this presentation is. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that if you choose option B, it is not the same thing as choosing the SVUSD Virtual Academy. So Mrs. Essling is going to go ahead and speak to option B at this time to make sure you understand, if you choose option B, what you're choosing.
Thank you, Glenn. Good afternoon, everyone. So we heard from a lot of parents over the summer that really wanted to have distance learning or online learning, but still wanted to be connected to their school site. They felt it was important to stay a part of their school community. And so we, with option B, really are trying to provide that for our parents. So as you know, option A was our hybrid model, which when we are allowed to go back to in-person instruction will be an AM/PM model. So that is one option that our families have. For our families who do not feel comfortable coming back to a hybrid model, you can continue on that distance learning, online learning path if you would so choose to, and that's what you would like to, and still be connected to your child's school, or at least school area, I'd like to say. So if you're choosing option B, you're committing to 100% online learning for the first trimester of the school year, okay? That instruction is going to be provided to you by an SVUSD teacher from your site or region who has participated in professional development of online learning that includes how to build community with your online students, pedagogy and practices of online learning, structure and flexibility, how to do assessments in the online format, and universal design to support student learning. Okay. Our SVUS team of teachers have created lessons in all content areas that will support this distance online learning if you so choose to stay at your home school. Okay. There's going to be a mix of both whole group instruction, whole group live instruction during the day, small group live instruction, and independent learning activities for each content area. So you'll have language arts that would be what I call synchronous or live with the teacher, language arts that would be then more independent, math the same, science, and social studies. So there's going to be a back and forth throughout their day. There will be daily attendance that will be taken. We will continue to use our district state-based grading system that we used last year and the year prior. We'll be using our SVUSD adopted curriculum. So this was a question that's come up. Will students be able to access their textbooks and their materials? Yes. So one of the things we're planning prior to coming back to school is setting up an opportunity for parents to come to their child's campus and get their language arts books, their math books, their science books, their social studies books. So they'll be able to use that at home too when they're doing their distance and online learning. And then again, as I spoke, our teachers have attended summer professional development. They will continue to be. We'll be sharing these plans that we've created for them to support them in online learning. If you are interested in enrolling in the Virtual Academy, if that's what you so choose, then you're going to be disenrolling your child from the homeschool and enrolling them in Virtual Academy. If you choose that you want the distance learning, online learning, then we're going to try to keep you as much as we can at your site based on enrollment. The other question that's come up that I just want to make sure that I address is after the first trimester, if you chose online learning and then you wanted to go to hybrid learning, then we would make every attempt possible to place you back at your home school, but it will be based on staffing. So we'll do everything we can to support you in getting back to your child's homeschool. And if for some reason we're not able to make that accommodation for this year, if you make a change, then they would be able to come back to the homeschool the following year. Okay, so that's kind of what I'd like to say is what we're calling our distance learning 2.0 of how, and it's very different from distance learning what we did, which was more of an emergency that we moved into. Now that we've had the time, we've done professional development, we've worked with our teachers, we've created curriculum to actually support the move to more of an online learning teaching. Okay, thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. So like Mrs. Essling said, if you do decide to enroll in the Virtual Academy, you will be essentially transferring from one school to our school, okay? It doesn't mean that you can't go back the following year, but we just want to make sure that you understand what you're choosing. So the Virtual Academy opened 3 years ago to provide an alternative to the traditional method of education. For a variety of reasons, some students and families wanted or needed a more flexible education and desired a more personalized approach to learning. So for example, some of our students have been enrolled in the Virtual Academy because their outside activities precluded them from attending a traditional school day like actors or Olympic hopefuls. We've had previously homeschool students that were looking to return back into the district education system. We have students with diverse social, emotional, and non-medically fragile needs. And we just in general have students who are seeking a non-traditional school environment or flexibility to pursue other interests. The SVUSD Virtual Academy is a K-12 school in the Saddleback Unified School District. All of our teachers are highly qualified, certificated teachers in SVUSD. There's no tuition to enroll, and the curriculum is aligned with Saddleback Valley and the California state standards. So in previous years, our students have attended in-person learning sessions twice a week. However, this year we will provide students with 100% online education. We'll utilize online software that allows students and teachers to interact in real time. And there's really some tremendous programs that support online learning, online discussions, and allow teachers and students to interact even using the same whiteboard. Now, if the district and state health regulations allow, we may offer optional in-person learning experience such as outdoor meetups, field trips, or classroom activities. But again, those would be optional. We are, for the entire 2021 school year, providing online education. So a lot of people are very interested to know, what would a typical week look like for my student? So this is a sample schedule for a first, second grade class. I'm going to let Mrs. Nellis describe the weekly plan, but I just want to make sure you understand that this demonstrates a mix of live whole group or class instruction when students are learning together and when students are learning independently. It's been our experience that a blend of synchronous or live instruction and independent instruction provides a balance of flexibility and structure that students need and want. Oh, Carla, would you mind just kind of walking us through this schedule a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So what you see in front of you is just a sample of what the week could look like. From the student's perspective, they will have regularly scheduled live instruction and independent time where they will be working offline on their assignments. The live sessions will consist of a weekly advisory time with all students in the class to go over announcements and to build community and social emotional. We can focus on all kinds of things during that time, but it's primarily to build community within the class. We'll also have live or recorded instruction on English language arts, and that includes phonics for the primary grades, math, science, and history. These live sessions will be planned out with purpose and intention. We will be able to personalize and differentiate instruction based on student needs by having flexible groups for both intervention and/or enrichment. We'll also have office hours where parents and students can sign up for an appointment if they have questions that would be better suited for a live meeting. But parents and students can contact us anytime during the school hours, not just during office hours. Students in the younger grades especially will need more parent support, but the lessons, instructions, and support will be given primarily by the teacher.
Great, thanks so much, Carla. Now, could you clarify, when students are not logged in to live sessions, how will they be learning?
Sure. Well, even when students are not attending live sessions, it doesn't mean that they're not receiving instruction. And so during the independent time, students will be learning via video recordings, online learning programs, readings, and all kinds of other activities, learning activities. So the great thing about this is that it allows the learner to move through the curriculum at their pace.
Great. Thank you so much. And I just want to make sure we emphasize that even on days without the online classes, Mrs. Nellis and all of our teachers are available to meet with parents by appointment. Now, what I'm showing here is the first grade weekly assignment sheet. Carla, would you mind walking us through this as well?
Sure, absolutely. So our assignment sheets are this could be one format that we use. And basically, this is a lower primary example of how students receive their lessons each week. So lessons are sent out on a weekly basis from Friday to Friday, and that gives families some flexibility within that week. The lessons are structured, though, on a daily basis, as you'll see. So both parents and students always know when the daily assignments, what the daily assignments are in each subject area. In this format, the students are given a game board each week and will find all of their lessons through links. Some lessons may be online, but some will be offline. And so this is just the how to get to their lessons from one place.
Great, thank you so much. And I just do want to emphasize that in an online learning space, it's really important to strike that balance of synchronous or together learning and independent or asynchronous learning, because we want to provide structure, but at the same time have some flexibility as well. I know from my own personal experience as a dad of two third graders that I need a little bit of both. I need my kids to be able to have some structure, but because we're working, we also need to figure out how to meet and deal with all of the other competing needs that our family has. So we often receive a lot of questions about our ability to supervise and work with students who have different academic aptitudes and drives, such as GATE students or even students with 504s or IEPs. And the great thing about the Virtual Academy's more personalized approach to learning is that it does support students who learn in different ways and in different rates. So personalization provides students with activity choice and instruction at the appropriate level to stretch the student's knowledge. That is, instruction and learning activities that are not too easy, that the students are bored, nor are they too difficult, so they give up. So our online learning programs combined with our teachers as coaches shifts much of the power and control of the learning to the students. And by giving students more ownership over the learning process and tailoring the content to more closely match their ability and interest, we see that students' motivation is enhanced. But again, a huge part of the personalization comes through the feedback and the individualized support that teachers provide. And that happens not during the together learning. That really happens during the office hours, in the small group instruction. And that's where students can be challenged or can clarify certain topics. Additionally, we also know that it's a human need to feel like we belong. And even though much of the work is done virtually, we still work to support students' need to connect with each other and to be known. So obviously, all of these pictures here demonstrate the community building that was done in class. But as Mrs. Nellis and Mrs. Schaefer shared, they have a lot of experience with online learning and ed tech tools. And so we are designing ways to make sure that students feel connected. And that's a big part of what those together class sessions are for as well. So the pillar, though, of our community is our advisory. Each week, students will meet with their teacher. On Monday, in this case, it may change, but during that specific time, it's an opportunity for the teacher to check in with students, to develop a sense of community, share important information, and lead students through activities that develop a sense of belonging, self-discovery, and purpose. And so in the slide here, this is Mrs. Nellis had created with her students kind of like, what is your intention for the year? And they made bracelets and rocks. It was really a really cool activity. Another important part of our community building is extending our community to all of our families. In the past, we held monthly family outings to extend the student learning, have fun, and connect with all of our families. Past outings have included the California Science Museum, ice skating, vegetable and pumpkin picking, and whale watching. Now, again, if the district and state health and safety regulations allow, we may resume our family outings. But again, that depends on a lot of different things. Additionally, the SVUSD Virtual Academy has a full-time counselor to support our students and parents. Our counselor, Mrs. Glasgow, does some wonderful activities with students to foster a sense of community and is always there to provide support for students and parents to help our students meet their potential. We've also talked about how do we form, for example, a SVUSD Facebook group for parents so they're able to connect and maybe even form different learning pods on their own, that is, with the families. The final thing I do want to touch on is just the partnership that is required to make this work. More than a traditional school, the virtual academy requires teachers and parents to really form a strong partnership to support the student. Similar to the traditional school, the role of the teacher is to develop the curriculum, provide the instruction and academic support, evaluate student work, and provide instructive feedback. But depending on the student, it's very important that parents help their student by providing structure, routine, and organization support. And at the younger grades, definitely basic assignment assistance and provide student accountability and motivation. So it's really together. And for this reason, if you notice back on our schedule, which we will post in our frequently asked questions, every Thursday, our teachers, not every Thursday, one Thursday every month, our teachers are meeting with parents to make sure that parents understand how their student is doing, where they're excelling, where they can improve. And so that way, everybody's on the same page about how the student's doing and what we need to do to support the student's growth. So for those of you who are interested in enrolling, you would do so by going to this link here. I'll also send it out in a follow-up email. And I want to remind you again, if you choose option B, it doesn't mean that you're going to the virtual academy. You would have to specifically enroll in the virtual academy. And if your student has an IEP, there will be a virtual option for the 2021 school year. And so this is a possibility, but the IEP team will need to meet to determine how services can best be met in this virtual environment. So again, virtual for the 2021 school year is available, is an option for students with an IEP. So at this point, I want to try to briefly scroll through to see if there's any questions that are recurring, to see if I can address them. And after that, I'll make sure that we follow up with the questions that were answered through an FAQ document. Let's see here. So I think I addressed the students with IEPs. Are we allowed to keep the Chromebooks to do virtual academy? Yes. So our materials, it's a good question. So the curriculum and materials are SVUSD materials. And so if a student needs a Chromebook, you can definitely check out a Chromebook. And all of the applications, all of the web applications that are used are web-based. So you don't need to download anything. So a Chromebook is sufficient. So this is a good question. Will the same rules apply to switching between option A and B for those enrolled, if you're enrolled in the virtual academy? So I would just say if you're fairly certain you want to do this for the whole year, then yes, do the virtual academy. Again, it's a request, but if you want more flexibility to switch back and forth, then you might want to consider just doing option B. And so someone asked, the schedule looks different than it did a couple months ago. Did the amount of live instruction get increased? And the answer is yes, it did get increased because with the increased enrollment, we are able to add additional teachers to provide more instruction. I should say live instruction, because when students are working independently, there still is instruction through videos and other means through with the teacher. There's a question here that's an important one to address, is how many students are in each class, or how many you're expecting? And to be quite frank, we have to see what the numbers are. We have to see how many students are choosing to go to the virtual academy. And so we'll make sure that a teacher is not overwhelmed with an inordinate amount of students, but we have to see what families are choosing, and then we can make sure we're able to, we can work on accommodating their plans. So in terms of, yeah, we do use Google Classroom and the SV portal. So we want to make students, we want to make sure students have a very similar experience. And we've worked though, however, to really streamline and make sure parents and students understand exactly what they need to do each day. I know, again, as a parent, last year trying to administer virtual education for my students, it was really important for me to understand how I was supposed to support my students. In terms of homework and coursework, there's really no difference in the virtual setting. There's nothing that's, oh, this is what you do in class, or this is what you do outside of class. It's all coursework. So to clarify, here's a good question too. Just to clarify, if we choose option B, we have the ability to stay 100% distance learning through our site or region for the entire 2021 school year. And yes, that is true. So one way or the other, if you're choosing distance learning and you only choose option B, either through the site or the region, depending on how many students choose that, you will have that option for the year.
Glenn, can I see a couple of questions in there about option A and option B.
Please do.
So right now, everyone is enrolling, right, or making their selection that we've asked you to make by Wednesday. And you're either picking when it's safe to return, the hybrid model, which is the AM, PM, either you're in school in the morning and then you go home or maybe to TLC for asynchronous learning, or what we call more learning activities in the afternoon, or you're in the PM, time, and in the morning you're in TLC maybe, or at home and doing your asynchronous learning. So, or you're signing up and saying, you know what, right now I really just want distance learning or online learning, and when school opens up with the hybrid, I don't want to do that. So after we know all of your choices and what you want, you can imagine, we are going to look at that, and then we're going to form our classes based on that. So if I have, if I'm at a school and I have 30 students in kinder who want distance learning, then I'm going to put those 30 together and I'm going to form a distance learning class, and there will be a teacher assigned to that distance learning class. Maybe at that same school, I have another 30 that want the hybrid, that say, you know what, as soon as Orange County gets out of the penalty box and we're good to come back, we've met all of our criteria, we can come back, I really want my kid to go back, then we're gonna form you in a hybrid class that starts with distance learning. And when we're able to go back, then all of those kids will come back. And then determination of which will come in the morning and which will come in the second session, to separate them out so that we make sure we have that 6 feet of separation between our students, okay? Once the hybrid kids come back and they're kind of going, our distance learning kids will keep moving along with their teacher on distance learning. That is what we found is to be the least disruptive, because if we form classes now and then all of a sudden we come out of hybrid, we're allowed to do hybrid, and then we make those switches, there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of teacher switches and changes like that. So this would be the most consistent for your child. At the trimester, if you then choose, I'm on distance learning, and you know what, things are looking really good and I'm feeling much more comfortable about my child coming up, I really think I want to take advantage and I want to go to the hybrid. At that time, at that trimester, we'll be sending you something out asking, are you interested in you know, do you want to come back? If you so choose, that distance learning teacher will still most likely continue to be a distance learning teacher. So if you're opting out of distance learning to go to hybrid, the principal's going to work with you and say, do we have room to take you back into our school at that point? Because it'll be based, if the class is full and there's no more space, then we wouldn't be able to accommodate you. As much as we can accommodate, we want to work with our families and accommodate you at your home school. But if we can't, then you would have to move to a different site if you still want to continue with the hybrid. Let's say you go, oh, oh, I can't do hybrid because if I do hybrid, I have to go to this other school. Okay, maybe I'm just going to stick with distance learning. So you'll be given an opportunity to then make a choice at that point. And then you would kind of finish out the year. When we start the next year, because this has been a big question for everyone, we're going back to whatever we started this year. So you'll go back to your home school, and that's where you'll be, hopefully will be in full, 100% back to normal learning at that point. So you're not losing your spot if you choose distance learning. You're not losing your spot if you then get placed at a different school. You will be able to come back at your home school, because we really want to try to keep that community that you have at your home school together as much as we can. Okay, I'm hoping there were quite a few different questions about that, so I'm hoping that that answered it.
Thanks so much, Yvonne.